We are starting the third part of this program or the curriculum here, and it's today is relationships. So mainly relationships with our primary partner, um, our the person we're closest to. If we don't have like a partner, a boyfriend, a husband, a girlfriend, a wife. It could be someone that's very connected, very close to you. Maybe someone you live with. So it's someone you have a lot of interaction with, and there are some moving pieces in the relationship. Romantic relationships, it applies to more, but it doesn't have to be a romantic relationship for what we're going to be talking about today. So I do have some slides and I'm going to share. Find them. Okay. Um, Share button. Okay. Here we go. Okay. So starts with, I'm going to talk about the mirror effect today. And today, a lot of it is going to be about how we even get attracted to our partner. And what leads up to being attracted to. I'm just going to continue to say our partner, whatever person you have in mind. Just think about them, or there may be a few people. Sometimes it can happen in different uh, relationships as well, even parent relationships. Although we already covered family systems um, in the last section. So I'm going to use partner. You can apply it to whoever in your life is close or is in that role for you. Um, okay, so let's see. We'll talk about attraction first of all. Um, people talk about chemistry and how, chemistry comes together, and people like sort of get attracted to each other. So um, it's not always just looks and personality that we're attracted to. It's not always just like, oh, the way someone looks or even sometimes like how what they're like, although that does play into it. There's also sometimes we notice patterns or how they behave, which I guess comes under personalities at some level. But we see these behaviors sometimes, and as we go on, you'll see what I mean by like certain behaviors are attractive because it's something we may have suppressed in ourselves, and we see that in someone else, and that's very attractive to us. Lots of times these things are subconscious. We don't know we're consciously doing this. Um, and so we see, some of the choices that this person makes or our partner makes, and we're attracted to them. Um, Also, and we also look for things that feel familiar, like someone who may have had a similar upbringing from us may be more attractive than someone whose family uh, behaved in a completely different way. Although there are elements of opposites attract, um, there are also like where the difference is so big that we're not we're not sort of vibrating at the same level. People talk about, feeling a vibe or feeling familiar and safe. Sometimes there's not safety in someone who's been raised completely different. For example, if we been raised in a family where you know, we don't show our emotions too much. We're a little more subdued. Um, and it takes a while for us to open up, and then we meet someone who's loud and boisterous and shows their emotions up front and things like that. Although parts of that can be attractive, sometimes it can be like just way too much, and we'll just like, oh my god, I can't be around this person. They're too open. They're beyond what I'm used to or what I'm programmed to, from my family. But in that same breath, there's parts of this person that are very attractive, for those exact reasons. And I'll talk more about that in a second. Um, yeah, so we're also magnetically drawn to what resonates, with our unhealed parts, and that's more around the electromagnetic field. We are broadcasting all the time, and when there's another field that comes in contact with our field, we can tell if there's harmony or disharmony. And so what I mean by resonates is like, um, if someone's has a similar electromagnetic field, similar signal that they're putting out through their thoughts and emotions, we're more comfortable with that, when someone else with that same field is next to us, and the two our two electromagnetic fields are in communication. Okay, so how do we become less whole? I talked a little bit about this in the first part of, and this is going to apply to how we get attracted to our partners and what we start to look for. When we're born, we have this. If you look at this, the drawing here, it's like an amoeba shape, maybe like even a cell, let's call it, and it seems fairly whole. And as we move through our childhood and we have traumas, and we start to suppress parts of ourselves. And the example I like to use, and I've used it before, is like this little girl, in class. She's in class. She's a smart, bright girl. Her teacher asks, "Who's the first president of the United States?" And she stands up and shoots her hand up and says, "Abraham Lincoln." And then the teacher says, "No, it was George Washington." And then in that moment, she like takes a gasp of air and like couldn't believe she was wrong, and then wants to sit down, wants to disappear. And then she thinks, "Oh my God, I'm never going to do that again." And so in that moment, she felt so embarrassed, so like, not smart, and she just wanted to disappear. And she made the decision that, oh my God, I'm never gonna stand up and do that, embarrass myself like this ever again. And then that and that's what's called a suppression. She started to suppress that part of her. So now moving forward, she was less involved and less vocal with her answers, less involved in her some of the schoolwork, even though she was bright. And now she grows up and goes out into the world and works in a corporate job where she has brilliant ideas, but she's afraid to voice them, based on, because she's suppressed that part of her for so long. She that behavior has carried on. So that's what I mean by when we suppress parts of ourselves, and often that happens through childhood traumas, um, or we get teased for doing something, and we never do that again. Like, maybe you might be a budding artist, and someone makes fun of your drawing or your picture, and then you may suppress that part of yourself and say, okay, I'm not a very good artist. I'm just not even going to bother. And so those things happen, when we're in our formative years. usually, childhood and teenage years. And so we do suppress parts of ourselves. So that's what I wanted to show with this graph. Over time, we suppress more and more, not, more different parts of ourselves, to some extent, just as we go through life and we get feedback, and then we decide what we want to show the world and what we don't want to show the world. Okay, so that's all I'll say about that. Okay, so the mirror effect, what is it? So, sometimes our partners, um, they reflect the disowned parts or suppressed traits back to us. So, for example, in this woman's case where she gave the wrong answer in school. She's like, she doesn't speak out loud much. She tends to stay quiet and usually calm, serene, quiet. And then she'll go to a party and she'll see this guy who like just loves to be the center of attention and tells jokes and everyone laughs and everyone seems to get along with him because he's able to express himself openly, and he's not afraid to publicly speak or get into conversations or be a little boisterous even. So this woman would be attracted to that um, trait in a partner. So um, because it's a part of her that she's sort of hidden away, and she sees that this person has this trait, and there's an attraction because for we want to we want to express in that way, but we don't we're still being held back by through that experience in our childhood or adolescence. So, the other reason, and this is, you could consider this a spiritual reason, we're actually drawn to them um, because we actually want to heal this part of us. So that there's this attraction of wanting to heal the suppressed parts of us. So it's an unconscious attraction uh, that we get pulled towards, and then um, we start to get triggered sometimes by the same action. So I'm actually just going to stop my share and just talk about this piece because this happens in a lot of relationships and people don't understand like what's really going on. And it goes a lot deeper than what I'm going to talk about today, and we'll talk about that in a couple weeks. Um, about the universe's plan for us. Um, but what happens? We get attracted to a person who has some of the traits that we've suppressed in ourselves, and then like the graphic shows, like the two pieces that with the suppressed pieces come together and they form this sort of whole. And in that in that whole, people think, oh my God, like I'm attracted to this person completes me, and like we fit like hand in glove, all this stuff, like because this person is filling in the suppressed pieces of us. And first of all, I just want to say up front here, um, no one else can complete you. You are complete and whole as you are today. So no one else will complete you. Yes, you may have a relationship where you get along very well, and and because especially early, because you're filling there, this person is filling in all the suppressed parts of you. So now what starts to happen um, is, in this case, this woman who suppressed her, her being, contributing or being loud or being like um, allowing to share her ideas. Like she stopped sharing her ideas. She felt a little not smart enough, and she meets this partner who expresses himself really well, is confident, and she's attracted to that, and she partly it's there she's attracted to him to heal that suppressed part of her, and then they'll go to a party and he'll start doing what he usually does, cracking jokes and being uh, the center of attention and being, life of the party. And then on the way home, she'll make a comment like, "Why do you always have to do that? Why do you always have to be the center of attention? Can't you just like behave normally, like you always need to be like the life of the party." And it's the thing that attracted her to him that now she's being triggered by, and that trigger is exactly what she needs to heal. So he's providing for her what she needs to heal in herself, that part that she suppressed, but it looking like an argument, right? Now this is a fight, or a discussion, or however you want to see it. And so that's when we start to look at the deeper level and the subconscious level of what's going on in these relationships. Whenever there's some disagreement or argument, or like, like not seeing eye to eye, someone is being triggered, and the person who's triggering them, and we all know what triggers are. We talked a lot about this in the first two pieces. It's someone's being able to see the wound that we're carrying. About, in this woman's case, let's say I'm not smart enough, or I'm afraid to speak in public, or whatever that fear is. So this her partner is sort of, being himself, but at the same time she's feeling like, oh my God, like it's poking. She's taking it like he's sort of poking her wound, that she can't do that. So she gets upset. So I'll share my screen again here, and we'll continue the slideshow.
Slide. Okay, so here's an example of exactly what I just explained. Um, our partners start to fill our suppressed pieces, all the, and complete that. And as they do, we start to these mirrored parts actually of us. They start to they actually start to mirror the parts of us that we haven't accepted for ourselves, or that we've suppressed. So um, so the things that you fear or you've suppressed, that's what you'll actually attract to you in some of your relationships. Not all, but often people come into our lives to heal those pieces of us that where we, felt unseen, or parts of us that we've suppressed, parts of us that where we there's some fear. Um, if we felt abandoned, we made attract a partner that's gonna continuously abandon us, and is gonna repeatedly bring those emotions up for us, so that we can heal that piece of us. And in the beginning, the attraction may be that, like, this person seems so free, that, like, the abandonment piece, this person seems so free, and they don't seem to give a care, and they go on vacation whenever they want, and I really want that for me. And then we get together with them, and then they continue to behave free and like not a care in the world. And now we feel, at first it feels great, but then eventually it starts to feel like we're being abandoned by them. And that starts to poke at our wound. And that's the signal for healing. That's the time when we want to look at our trigger and go, okay, what's really happening for me? What's the underlying emotion that I'm holding, and we know how to heal this. We just want to feel through these emotions, but our partner is the one to trigger us. And it's not always our partner. We studied our family. Our family does this too at some level. Even our coworkers will do this. Um, but the partners we attract into our life are, especially the intimate partners. This is where some real healing can happen if we can get through and understand why sometimes there is this, the fights and the arguments and the dissonance that comes with being in relationship and healing, because we are actually doing the same thing for them. They were attracted to us because of their uh, pieces that were suppressed, and it's interesting how it all works out that way. But it just does. Um, so, bottom line, our partner is reflecting back to us those parts of us that feel stuck and want to be expressed. So, we'll leave that slide as it is. Okay, talked about this a little bit already. Um, the early attraction becomes this tension later. Um, and now there's an unpredictability. Um, there's all the traits that we sort of looked at, that we were attracted to, are now um, pains at some level, or irritants at some level. And we get upset with our partner because of they're doing the same thing that attracted us to them in the first place. But this isn't a mistake. It's not like, we often think, oh man, I picked the wrong person. I can't, we're fighting so much. And but if we understand the deeper level of healing that can happen, we're just being called to heal and to look at ourselves and what's happening with us emotionally. Okay, so this is really how our relationships can grow. So we meet someone, we're drawn to them, and then as the relationship progresses, they start to activate these unhealed wounds within us. And I've given a lot of examples already of that kind of behavior. So whatever they're doing triggers this emotional pain that we're holding on to. And now this relationship gives us a container to grow and to heal and to have space for our own healing. So when we start to look at relationships as a container for healing, it puts a whole nother light on, that relationship and that connection. Okay, so integration. This you just so maybe you want to take a note here. Um, can we get conscious in our relationship, and when we are triggered, I often use the term like reflect rather than reload. In our relationship, we can try and ask, okay, what is this person showing me about me? Um, and it's always about me. um, and it's again in the second bullet point, reflect rather than reload. Like, don't blame. Now's the perfect opportunity for us to integrate. Um, when we meet our own needs internally, then our relationships also transform externally. So, for me, it's really important to really understand your partner's story. I'll share more after the slides. Um, let's just finish up here. Okay, the goal, it's not to change your partner. It's to meet what's being mirrored. So what are they showing you? and how can you meet that? Okay, I'll talk a little more about that after I stop share. Here's some journal prompts. If you want to write these down, I will be sharing the slides in the Telegram group, so you don't need to write these down. They'll be available. What traits in my partner most trigger me? Because that's a huge clue of what's happening for you. Where do I also carry these traits? And so oftentimes, what the things that we judge in our partner, we're also judging in ourselves and judging in other people. And um, it, it's not only contained in the relationship. We start to that trait usually is across the landscape of our life. Work, friends, family. And now, what am I learning about myself through this relationship? And then the last one here is, what would it mean to take full ownership of what I see in the mirror? So as long as you can see that this person is I mean, the whole world, our whole reality is reflecting back to us who we are. But this person now let's look at this person. They are a mirror for especially this relationship and how and um, what we are um, signaling out through our, what are we putting out into the world? This person is reflecting back to us all of our emotional states, all of our things that need healing or yeah, I would say need healing, emotions that we are holding on to, and parts of us that we've suppressed. Is there more? Okay. Um, and just to reflect and integrate mirrors, they are uncomfortable, but they're powerful, and they're a powerful tool. And if we look at relationships in this way, we can it actually shifts the the our view of the relationship and how we see this relationship. Um, and then maybe how we think about it, how we respond to it, how we behave in it, can also change, and that can transform a relationship just by understanding this concept, and really internalizing it and seeing it for what it is. The goal isn't to change others. Like I said, it's to meet what's being mirrored. The other thing is, I always like to stay curious. Of course, that's how we learn, how we grow, through curiosity. Um, and especially about, the piece about being critical to your partner. This is, again, that statement of reflect rather than reload. You're getting curious about what's happening for you, and also what's happening for them. If you know their story well, uh, you'll also know what they've suppressed in their life and what they're trying to heal. So every relationship is a sacred classroom for your evolution. I really believe that, and um, you can take on that energy in your relationship if you choose. Um, I think it's a powerful way to look at how we connect, evolve, and be in relationship, especially with our partner. Okay, that's the last slide I have, but there was an idea that I was going to talk about. I just want to go back here. Mm, okay, I'll stop my share here. You see, there's something in the chat. Let me just have a quick look in the chat here. And what is the other part? Okay, I mean, oftentimes there's We feel a lot alike. Yeah. Okay. So that's true. I'll talk about that in a sec. Um, because we both have some. Okay. One of the questions is, are you saying we only are attracted to the not healed parts of us? And no, earlier I talked about how we're attracted to similar ways in the signals we send out. So we have this electromagnetic field, and when someone comes into our field, that vibrates very differently, or let's say was raised completely different, most likely we wouldn't be attracted to them. The vibration would be very like not harmonized. So we generally are attracted to people of a similar ilk, let's say, but then within that um, attraction, there's also the attraction of parts of us that we've suppressed or and that need to heal. So in the larger container, we're usually attracted to people with a similar upbringing, similar values, ideas, those kinds of things. Um, like someone who is very spiritual and goes to church every week and things like that, most likely wouldn't be attracted to someone who does the opposite things and has different values and things like that. So in the larger container, we are attracted to the people sort of in who vibe the same as us. And within that, there's all people who have um, we're attracted to parts of them that we've suppressed in ourselves, and they're attracted to parts of us that they've suppressed. So there is this unconscious attraction beyond the larger attraction. There's an unconscious attraction to heal some of the suppressed parts of us that uh, we see in them, and they also see in us. Um, the other thing that I did want to talk about was, yeah. So uh, oftentimes in relationships, um, we want to change our partner or change somebody. And I think we probably learned this early on that you can't, as soon as we start doing this work, like I said last week or in another class, I said we take one, we go to our first personal development workshop, and then we come home and we want to change the whole household. And, oh, you need to do this and that. And everyone tells you to F off because like, I'm already okay. I don't need your help. And so in relationships, we what when we do get triggered, we really don't want to. I mean, we do want to change our partner. That's our ego or personality. But what we really should be doing is looking at what are they reflecting back to us, and that's the real question. And that's where I always like that reflect rather than reload. We are going to get triggered. People are going to say things to us like, for example, I use this example all the time. If I paint the fence yellow and my wife says, "Oh, why did you paint the fence yellow?" Right away, I'm thinking, "Oh man, I screwed up again. Like what color should I have painted it?" And in her mind, she may have just been curious about, oh, why I picked yellow and not thinking like, you screwed up. But right away I'm thinking, and then I might shoot back. What's wrong with yellow? It's a nice bright color. We need some, sunshine in the backyard or whatever it is. Right? And there we go. And then she'll like, what do why are you getting all upset? And there's the start of the disagreement or fight, and then you know she'll say something, the relationship works this way. And um if she says something back to me like that's might be hurtful, or I know her story. I know her childhood wounds. I know them well. We've done the work together. Uh, and so I can choose like to reflect and wonder what's happening for her in this moment because, there's something happening for her as well. And, um, and, often, um, I'll see what that is. And often she'll see what that is for me. But sometimes we don't, or sometimes I'll see it and still choose to be a jerk and have the argument. Or it's not choose to be a jerk. My ego will come up and I'll want to defend my actions or what I said. So, I and so that happens also, right? Even when you know exactly what's going on, we choose to behave or we choose to reload rather than reflect. Um, yeah, Mary, I like that. The only way you can change someone is if they're wearing diapers. Okay, so I think that's all the talking I'm gonna do. So I'll stop the recording here, and then we'll take any questions or any insights. Uh, uh, I just want to see next. Okay, so next week we will talk about a little bit about recognizing the trigger, the and then some dynamics around a relationship has a certain amount of anxiety, and there's always a safe distance, let's say. Um, and there's always usually a pursuer or someone who's chasing and a distancer, right? So a pursuer and a distancer. So someone in the relationship is always trying to close the gap, and someone is always trying to distance to keep that gap, just because it's comfortable at this level. And if a couple gets together like this, that might be too close for both of them because there's a certain amount of anxiety that we all hold, and even like getting really close can be uncomfortable for both. So there's this distance that's like that works, and but oftentimes someone's trying to close the gap, and the other person's trying to keep the gap. So we'll talk about that next week. I'll stop the recording here.